At the risk of sounding dense, I want to just keep going with this conversation because I think it's been great so far.
It's the theme of this day.
Yeah.
This is an intense group of powerful wanters who have practiced the art of resistance for quite a while.
So over lunch, my wife and I were discussing that, and what occurred, we were talking about how this works. So in what I'm wanting, it seems to me that the small irritations that I have in my life cumulatively are much more detrimental to me than the large things I'm trying to accomplish or manifest. So
good way of saying it, except we wouldn't say cumulatively as if they're piling up into something bigger. We would say consistently as they hold me consistently out of alignment. And
right.
There's a difference.
Okay. So in a situation like that, where I have something that would be a small irritation, an irritation that in my estimation would last 10 seconds or less, somebody tailgating me or those types of things where it's fairly quick. At that moment, is it in my best interest to do the best I can to feel good about that? Making statements like maybe this person's needs to get somewhere very quickly, whatever I can do to help that.
Whatever it is. 10 seconds, not a problem. 17, a problem.
Because it'll attract more.
Under 17 seconds, there's no punch to it. But once it hits that 17-second mark, then law of attraction kicks in exponentially.
So in a situation like that, where it's irritation, is there any benefit to me, or is it necessary for me to do some of the process you talked about earlier, which is trying to find an emotional feeling that replaces irritation with something more appropriate to the scale?
Well, we like what the direction you're going here. The reason that we're talking about these manifestations that have information in them is because most people have had these irritations, and they haven't been doing the work that you're proposing that you will do. So it ends up in a manifestation that now they've got the manifestation, and now they're really negatively focused because of the manifestation. So they're even less likely to shift the energy now the manifestation has happened, unless you've got hold of some really good tools like we're talking about here today, where you really take the time. But that is time consuming. The results are clear and obvious, but the reason for them not so much, because you have not been accustomed to thinking of yourselves as vibrational transmitters. You think of yourself as action-oriented. You think of yourself as effective, as good communicators, at good action people. You know how fast you type. You know how fast you drive. You know how fast you walk. You know how many miles you can run in an hour. In other words, you have equated yourself or described yourself through action for so much longer than you have been defining yourself through emotion or through vibration, that we know it feels awkward at first. But someone like you who has been listening for a while and really understands vibration, if someone is tailgating you and you feel irritation about it, and you notice your irritation even before you say something about it, or you say something about it and recognize that you're feeling irritation, the quickest way to get to a improved vibration about that is to say, how is the source within me looking at this situation? Having that question posed and ready for yourself to answer is a very good thing, because then you would say, well, what you just said, your source would always give them the benefit of the doubt. Your source would understand that no matter how egregious their behavior, that they're out there on the raw and ragged edge, and that it's not a personal thing that they're doing to you, and it's not a proclamation of your goodness or badness. It's only a vibrational match to what you've been feeling. So then you say, well, my source would give them the benefit of the doubt, and I haven't been, clearly, because I'm irritated. And then you would look in your rearview mirror and say right out loud, tailgater, what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to not be who I really am? Well, I'm thinking that, what is it that you're thinking? What might it be? I'm thinking that you're rude. I'm thinking, what is it? What is it that I'm thinking about you? I'm thinking that I must not be as good of a deliberate creator as I want to be, or you wouldn't be tailgating me, is what I think I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what comes up then, is then judgment on how am I doing?
I must not be doing as well as I thought I was doing. Thank you, tailgater. Thank you, tailgater, for pointing that out to me, for being the manifestational evidence that lets me know where I'm going, how I'm doing vibrationally, and how would it be for someone who, so what's the underlying feeling in that? What's the underlying feeling? Is it one of defensiveness? Is it one of not enoughness? Is it self-scrutiny? Picking apart what I'm doing?
Well, initially it would be rude, but I'd probably use a stronger word, but it would be that direction. But if I turn it upon myself, it would be self-scrutiny, I suppose, because I'm allowing this situation to irritate me and to throw me off of my vibrational balance.
I'm mad at myself for not maintaining my balance because of something as insignificant as this. So then you stop and you say, well, my emotions are not insignificant. It's not insignificant. I'm glad I'm having this feeling of upheaval, because this feeling that has been percolating there, clearly this vibration was within me before you tailgated me, or you wouldn't have tailgated me. And now I'm having the emotional response to your tailgating me, which is all information. Good information, so good for me. I'm aware of how I feel, and good for me. I'm aware that I'm irritated, and good for me. I'm aware that it's silly for me to be irritated, and good for me. I'm glad that I'm a deliberate creator. And thank you, tailgater, for showing me that I'm a little more raw and ragged than I've been admitting to myself. And I feel better for having had this co-creation with you. And I harbor no ill will to you. I don't know what's going on in your life. Clearly, you're out of whack a little bit, and I must be a little bit too, because here we are out of whacking together. And I wish you the very best as you are moving along your merry way. And thank you for this intervention, which has clearly helped me to realize what I've got going on here at very subtle levels that I didn't even know was going on. And I feel better for having had the experience. And thank you for this clearing process, because now I'm expecting more clear sailing as I'm moving along. And just with that 68 seconds or more of conversation, you have moved that vibration to a place where it was not before. And now you feel better for it. The air is fresher. You feel more alive. You feel more enlivened. You feel more eager. You feel more passion. You feel more deliberate. You feel more focused.
So, and I get all that. I understand, I think, what you're saying. And when I've heard you talk about numerous times before, that you say certainly within 30 days, one should be able to manifest whatever it is they desire. Is that similar to what you're looking to do on a daily basis?
We want to rework that. In what we've been saying is, no matter where your vibrational patterning has been, in 30 days of somebody tailgating you, of somebody stealing your bag, of somebody bumping your car, of somebody, in other words, in 30 days, the variety of different irritating things that will happen, in 30 days, you've cleaned it up, 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 and you are a different person in 30 days. And when you are a different person, instantaneously, those things begin to come in. In other words, it does not take 30 days. Once you reach alignment, it doesn't take 30 days for the evidence to show you, because the evidence is 99.99% already. Everything that needs to be done is done, except for that one little piece of you coming into vibrational alignment with it. The 30-day thing that we've been talking about is, we think that it is absolutely reasonable to say that anyone on the planet, no matter what they're living, has the ability to shift their vibration from where they don't want to be to where they do want to be within 30 days. And the moment that you have moved into vibrational alignment, or even the vicinity of what you want, things start moving fast. Things start showing up. Things start lighting up all over the place. And you begin to feel enlivened and empowered in new ways.
And that looks like, and I know it's 30 days on the outside, but really in theory it could be 30 minutes or 30 hours or something. But that looks like doing what we've just been discussing. Somebody tailgates you, you immediately soften it and try to move somewhere else.
And we are so happy to have this conversation with you, because the resistance that's going on in the majority of your lives is not there because of things much bigger than that. In other words, it's the day-to-day, daily annoyances that you respond to and don't clean up that hold you in vibrational difference to who you really are. In other words, you're not a murderer and your source is a savior. You're not a hater, usually. And your source is a lover. You're not pessimistic all the time when your source is optimistic. There are not those many gradations between who you really are and who you're letting yourself be. It's just those day-to-day irritating things that keep you from consistently moving in the direction of who you are. It's so much less to clean up than anyone knows. But the thing that's interesting about that, when it's big to clean up, and you clean it up, oh, what a rush you have. In other words, it almost feels like you pulled a rubber band back, and when you let go of it, it flew really, 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 really far. When it's cleaning up those little things, because the discomfort of them is not so big, then the motivation to clean them up is not so big either, because after all, it's normal to be a little ornery, it's normal to be a little irritated, it's normal to be a little edgy or a little frustrated. It's sort of normal, and you acclimate to those feelings, and then your guidance, you're not as aware of your guidance, but then life keeps causing you to become more, so your stream moves faster, so that habit that you've had for a long time, all of you, of irritation now becomes a bigger player in your experience. And so as it becomes a bigger player, then you feel the aggravation. And when you feel the aggravation, you look for someone to blame. And when you find someone to blame, the aggravation gets greater. So that's what causes it to compound, you see. Haven't you heard yourself say, and don't you know that you can get on a jag where the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, or you can be on one where the worse it gets, the worse it gets, the worse it gets. You say things like, oh, bad things come in threes, or good things come in threes, or you have all these little things that you notice about these vibrational trends. And what we want you to understand is that when you are as you are, keenly aware of how you feel, and you are willing to do the work, to take the time to always lean in the direction of allowing, before you know it, the irritants of your life will be so rare that when one shows up, it will seem like a really big deal. And you'll be able to work through it without having to then endure the manifestation that's on the heels of it if you don't clean it up.